Now, the Youth in Mining Summit kick-started yesterday, and a platform was formed for conversations between key players in South Africa's mining industry and the youth to enhance the participation of young people and their ownership in the mining industry. Joining us now in studio to discuss how ethical ownership in mining is a critical element to explore is Mallence Bart-Williams, founder and creative director of Forlorn Shaw. Good to have you with us today, and thank you so much for making time.
Thank you for having me.
I recall speaking to one of the co-founders of the Youth in Mining debate and event on Monday, and I actually said it actually sounds like a bit of an oxymoron, youth and mining, given that the two have never really interlinked. But I understand that you have new observations and ideas with regard to how we can get youth participating in the ownership landscape here.
I feel it's my first time in South Africa, and I feel whereas ethical mining is usually addressed from a very different angle when it comes more down to environmental issues, human resource issues, and so on. Here in South Africa, however, I feel ownership needs to be redefined, you know, because in other areas of the world, it's a different status quo. I feel this needs to be readdressed first and foremost, because how is it possible that Africans, and I define Africans as people of this continent and soil, not because your father, grandfather decided to come and steal the land and settle here, you know, that for me doesn't define an African. I feel, how is it possible that Africans make up 95% of the workforce, however, only 5% is owned by Africans in South Africa. So I feel ownership needs to be readdressed, and needs to be readdressed properly also from a government angle, because in 2015 the target was 26% were supposed to be owned by Africans. Black Africans, I need to emphasize, because I understand this functions
There's a broad-based approach here as well in South Africa.
Only 20% of companies met that target. So what is 20% out of 26? That's 5% of the overall pie. And this is a ridiculously insignificant number.
So how do we fix it? Because the government might come forward and say, well, we have procedures like preferential procurement, we have BBBE. Yes, some of them not affiliated with positive outcomes that have been established, but from the outsider's view looking in, do you have recommendations and suggestions that we could implement?
Revoke the licenses. That was supposed to be the consequence if companies don't meet that quota, you know, it annihilates the contract. And
what about the economic consequences that causes?
Well, sometimes it's like that, you know, when you want to reestablish a different status quo, it's not going to be all cozy, you know. So people have to be prepared for that. It will have economic consequences, but ultimately it's a win-win situation, you know, when you realize the potential that will be gained through that, then whatever consequence will come with it has to be faced. You know, it's temporary, but I feel ownership needs to really be addressed radically. It can't be a negotiation. You know, this is not up for debate.
How do we do this in a manner which will ensure that the assets will sit in hands that are capable of running these organizations? Because we've previously seen it in other governments like Zambia, where mines were state-run for a number of years, but that led to some inefficiencies in the long term.
I disagree. Otherwise, Nigeria wouldn't lead you in economy in Africa, you know. I feel people like to paint the picture that maybe Black Africans don't have the expertise to run these things. That is fine. Then maybe it's not efficiently run, you know, but that's a problem that they should then solve among themselves.
But my argument is that exactly, skills transference, education levels, encouraging these black youth to participate on the education front in order to be significant leaders in the future.
I feel they will be motivated to participate, because when they feel that they can actually really enjoy a piece of the pie, then there is a different motivation. You know, wouldn't you be highly motivated to seek out an education in a field that has a perspective future? You know, I would. And I believe here, I just came from the university. You have extremely skilled and educated people here. Extremely. You know, I was so positively surprised. And that is actually why I feel this country is hopeful. And due to guys like them.
By them, I think you're referring to my next guest, who we'll get in conversation with in just a moment. Mpho, who joins us as a representative to talk further about the education and employment opportunities on the show. But Mallence, thank you so much for your time today. Certainly hope that you do return to South Africa with a different landscape in the future. That was Mallence Bart-Williams, founder and creative director of Fuller on Shore.